Hello,
Mhm.
nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Excellent. Looks like got quite a few people planning to join today. But as you guys are the first ones here, this just to set the stage a little, the intention here is that this is just an open office hours. Hopefully you all here have had a chance to log into the platform, or at least try to log in. Um, the purpose for me being here is to answer any questions that you all might have. If there are any technical issues, to make sure we document them. We can troubleshoot them together. I'm happy to do that. But also just more of a question and answer than anything. So with four of you being here first, I'd just like to open the floor to allow you to ask any questions that you guys might have of the platform.
I have not logged into it yet. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. Have you received, Holly, because I know we added you kind of after the fact, have you received an email invitation yet with any credentials to log in?
I just a minute. I'm looking back in my emails. I think Paul may have sent me something.
Okay.
Let's see. Stream.
And if you haven't, I wouldn't be alarmed. I mean, like I said, we added you after the fact, as you weren't
Right.
an official point of contact in Ribbits.
Okay, I see in the email it says activate your SWaN wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and click in that.
Yeah, and let us know too. There have been some issues. We've been using Amazon Web Services as part of the platform's tech stack, and there have been some login issues I know with several folks during this. So it's a common issue. We've been finding ways around it, but let me know if you do have any issues. But that would be the first place to start.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else here have any questions that they came to this call hoping to ask?
Yes, hi, this is Tara. I have a quick question. You developed this platform. I poked around on it and watched the YouTube video. I'm curious if you've developed other platforms and similar, markets elsewhere.
Yes, probably most notably in Australia, the Murray-Darling Basin. Water Ledger, we are a water technology company at our heart. And so what we did was in the Australia marketplace in the Murray-Darling Basin, we originally created this platform to address water trading and water accounting. And so that's the main place. And then we took the platform and the underlying technology, and we've redressed it and we've customized it to be able to handle what we consider a water adjacent asset, which are these mitigation credits, these environmental credits.
And in the Murray-Darling Basin, was participation voluntary or required?
It's been voluntary as well, which this is also, I mean, we want to stress that this platform is a voluntary platform. There's no requirement to use the SWaN platform to trade. Our hope and the hope of DEQ is that it provides utility to the marketplace to create a more efficient marketplace with some of the market intelligence and data insight that are provided, as well as the ledgering capabilities of the platform and some of the automations that we have between ourselves and regulators as well. But there's no mandate the platform be used.
And is there, as you're aware of, a goal implementation date?
Yes, so the go live date is December 15th. of this year.
Thanks.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Tara. What other questions can I answer for those on the call today?
Can you talk about data sources?
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to all the credit data that's currently available has come from Ribbit. That's where we've gotten the points of contact and credit balances for the different banks. So that's where the credit information has come from. As far as the demand side goes and the permit data goes, all of those have come from DEQ. They're all publicly available pieces of data. We've also pulled data from the EVA platform, again, publicly available data source for some of the pricing data. The Nature Conservancy as well. I know they volunteered their pricing data, the different schedules that they've had over the years for advanced credits. So those are really the data sources. Everything that we have in the platform is technically publicly available data. And the goal, the hope, we know that, for example, Ribbit is notoriously delayed in the transaction data and what's actually there. So the goal for us is to encourage adoption of the platform. So instead of logging a transaction months after the fact, as soon as credits are transacted, the market is made aware of that transaction and it's reflected live or near real time on our platform. So, going forward, our hope is to be both actually help the Ribbit's platform have better data, as well as DEQ, as well as you all. But in the meantime, everything that we've populated so far has just been publicly available data sources, such as Ribbit's and DEQ. Excellent. Welcome, Fraser. We were just talking about some different data sources Peter was asking about. Tara had also asked, and I bring this back up because you might be able to speak to it more in depth. She had asked about our experience in other places, building similar markets or using our tool, our SWaN platform, or its derivatives for similar marketplaces. And I brought up the Murray-Darling Basin, but maybe you can speak a little bit more in depth as to what was being achieved there in Australia, as you're the one who had your hands firmly on it.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of our previous experience with this kind of technology is for building trading environments for surface water and groundwater. So not mitigation credits, but actually a slightly different asset. And it operates in exactly the same way as you have buyers and you have sellers, and they are able to enter into a relationship to buy and sell water. The reason that this has been needed, generally speaking, comes down to exactly the same reasons everyone is looking for improvements in mitigation trading in Virginia. Typically in Australia, now Australia has been trading water for over 30 years, so it's the most mature regulated water market in the world. And even today, there are a number of brokerage platforms that allow people to trade water. Even to this day, a typical trade takes between 60 and 90 days before they can actually get it complete. And 60 of those days are actually involved in trying to work out how much is available, who is buying, who is selling, and what price is being paid. So in other words, the market lacks liquidity and there is no transparency and no price discovery in the marketplace. So by utilizing our technology, we are able to bring near real-time liquidity information by virtue of the fact that balances are automatically updated in real time. And secondly, by operating on the basis of keeping track of the transactions and particularly recording price, that we're able to actually to bring price discoverability. So we were able in Australia to take a situation where a trade would typically take, as I said, 60 to 90 days. We were able to reduce that down to less than 7 days. And the only reason it was 7 days was because the regulator insisted on manually checking every trade. But if the trading rules were automatically applied, you could actually get down to trading in effective real time because the trading rules are actually embedded into the system. The slight difference that we're introducing in Virginia is actually the way in which the trade itself is being created and managed. So instead of having what you would describe as a stock exchange view of the world, whereby people are putting out bids and offers saying, you know, I've got 10 acre feet for sale, I'm looking for a price of $1,000 an acre foot, or I'm looking to buy 5, and you do kind of more dynamic matching as you would stocks and trades. For Virginia and the mitigation market, we've actually tried to retain elements of the current system whereby the trade itself is more by private negotiation between the buyer and the seller. And that then is used to inform the market. So that's the kind of probably the one area where there's been a little bit of difference between what we do elsewhere and what we're doing in Virginia. But in essence, the problems with these kind of water markets anywhere in the world are exactly the same as what you're facing in Virginia, which is transparency, liquidity, and discoverability, particularly around price. And that is in essence the main goal of SWaN, is to create an environment where all of those things actually can come together and make it easier for people to see what's available, who's selling, who's buying, and what are people paying. And beyond that is also then, beyond that market intelligence is then facilitating the trade itself by keeping track of it through the process of offers, deposits, right up to and including interactions with the regulatory system, whether that be approvals by DEQ and final registration onto ribbons. I don't know if that helps, Nate, but that's a kind of quick snapshot.
Yes, helpful for me as well to understand better. So thanks, Fraser. But yeah, Tara, hopefully that adds a little bit more color to the answer that I gave as well. We have a couple other people that joined. Welcome, Justin and Marie-Pierre. Good to have you both on the call. Just to set the stage a little, right now we've opened the floor really just for an open question and answer session with us. So you've had the opportunity to log into the platform, and there's anything that's on your mind, anything that we can help you understand better, we're happy to share a screen and click through the platform with you. We're happy to help you troubleshoot any technical issues, or if there's any other just general questions that you have related to the platform and what we've been doing. We're also happy to answer any questions. So the floor is really yours to ask us anything that's on your mind.
Can I maybe just ask a question, Nate? I was just going to ask Tara directly whether she's been able to log in.
Yes, I have. Thank you very much.
That's okay. I just wanted to confirm that that was the case, because obviously that was one of the, we still don't know exactly what's going on with that one, but at least we found a way to get you into the platform, so that's great.
Hey, Paul, good to see you.
Hey, hi, Nate. Hey, Fraser.
I have a follow-up question just on, voluntary use and trying to create transparency. If you get, let's say 50% adoption out of bankers, those going in and confirming their actual supply and reservations and things, and then the other half not using the platform, won't all the metrics be skewed because the half of the supply will not be correctly shown? I mean, do you foresee an issue with not having full participation?
It's a very fair question, Tara, and I guess part of the answer is we would love 100% participation, but at the end of the day, no one can actually enforce that. So therefore, we have to think about managing a situation where we may have an imperfect operational environment. So anyone who uses our platform obviously is contributing to real-time visibility of available balances and so on. If there are parties who operate outside of our platform in the way they currently do, they are obligated ultimately to record any trades into Ribbits. And as soon as they are recorded into Ribbits, we are basically doing a 24-hour, every 24 hours, we update Ribbits data back into SWaN. So as soon as it is recorded into Ribbits, it is visible within SWaN. So that means that we do have a mechanism to catch off what we would call off-chain transactions. But obviously that then comes to, as you rightly said, the market statistics may be a little lagging, because if it takes someone 3 months to record the trade into Ribbits, we won't know about it for 3 months. But all of the data that ultimately gets onto Ribbits will automatically be appearing into our platform as time goes by. Our goal is to try and explore through beta testing and through other initiatives how we can get as close as possible to 100% use of SWaN. But at the same time, there are going to be caveats, is that if people choose not to use it, then, as I said, we will do our level best to make sure that the data within SWaN is as up to date as it can be and represents a value add above and beyond what Ribbits provides. So, as I said, if people use our platform, you've got real-time visibility of supply and demand. If people choose not to use our platform, then the people not using it will be dependent on what is going on in Ribbits. Anyone using our platform is going to be somewhere between those two extremes and will get direct benefit as a result. But it is a fair point. So we have tried our best to try and make sure that there is real value in the platform, even if not everyone uses it. But we do recognize that there is a critical mass that need to use SWaN before it actually becomes valuable for everyone. The more people who use it, the more valuable it is for everyone.
Yep, thanks. That's helpful. I think your point is right on the supply from Ribbits, even delayed. You can see that supply, the pricing and demand, I think is particularly the pricing is harder without more, wide adoption.
It's true, but I guess this is one of the interesting things about the market as it currently is that certain parties within the market today probably are in a privileged position in terms of their insight into price because of either their scale of operations or because of the breadth of operations. So our view is going to be that, getting any price information is going to actually be a value add beyond where we are at the moment for some parties. And we believe that the more people start to see the value in price disclosure, the more you will actually see the benefit in the pricing information in the platform. But ultimately, you're absolutely right. It depends upon people contributing the data and the information in the first place. Some parties have said that they would be more than happy to disclose their pricing. So anything that's a public procurement, the price will actually be disclosed, which means we've got direct information about some pricing which is available to everyone. Some private parties have expressed an interest in disclosing their price information into the platform, which then would add value. But again, we're also aware that pricing of a contract is also private and confidential between the buyer and the seller. So we're not going to override that by default, but we are hopeful that it will work. Our platform operates on the basis that if we facilitate a trade, price between the buyer and the seller must be disclosed, and therefore we will use that to calculate and update the market statistics, even though we won't disclose the private price to anyone else. It'll just be private, but we will use it to update things like the moving average price in the marketplace. But again, a critical mass would help. The more people we get onto the platform, the more value everyone will gain from the platform.
I've only had a chance to look for a few minutes on the platform. I do see some errors that we would need to fix. So far, I don't really know how to do that. I mean, would the supplier be able to get in and fix any errors like our phone number or the type of bank it is?
Yeah, definitely. Let me see if I can actually just log in here and show you briefly what that would look like.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm going to be using just a public, this is Chesterfield County, so we're not showing any data that would be private data. This is a public entity.
Okay.
So this, just to be clear as a disclaimer, so this is Chesterfield County. I imagine that you're entering something similar to this, Holly.
Yes.
Or have you seen the screen before? Okay, so this is where you can actually confirm the details, either of your bank or banks, or if you have multiple permits.
Okay.
So if you have a dispute, let's say this West Area Arterial Connector, it would appear that this is a permit, but it's the same process, whether it's a permit or whether it's a bank that you're trying to dispute. This is the information that we've pulled from DEQ, right? All permit data is coming from DEQ. That's one of the value adds that we're giving the market, is we're matching permit, the demand, as well as the supply, the credits from rivets. Let's say though that you want to dispute this permit, you just click the dispute button here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually going to send a message to the appropriate contact within DEQ, who oversees this permit.
I see.
And the same thing will happen if you have a dispute for a bank. So, a location, maybe it says it's located in one county, and in actuality it's located in another. Whatever the case might be, this is where you can actually send a message. You can upload evidence as well if you think that that's going to be beneficial. Maybe you have contract or a PDF that you'd like to share with DEQ, and then on DEQ side, they'll go in and they'll update the information accordingly. But this is how you begin that dispute resolution.
Okay, great.
And then all of those messages will end up in the messaging portal within the platform. So we have an internal messaging portal. If you're looking to click around more in the platform, you can. We encourage you very strongly to go through and verify all of your data first before confirming. But let's say that you just want to click through the platform. You just push this cancel button here, and it'll take you to the platform itself. So every time you log into the platform, Holly,
Mm-hmm.
until you've confirmed all of your banks and all of your credits, you'll have the option still to come into the platform that way. So,
Okay.
and then
I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that, Nate. I'm glad to hear that, because I was afraid to click through into the platform because I saw there were changes that needed to be made. So
yeah.
So
We wanted to have a fail-safe, a little emergency door there. So the disputes though that you raise with DEQ, the messaging will just be here in this little messages app. It operates just as any other messaging app does in any application that you use. So as you have these disputes and as you raise the concerns with DEQ, the correspondence will just be right in here in this messaging application within the platform. Good question. Thank you, Holly, and hopefully that's helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to ask them. But
okay, no, I'm still just looking around, but yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. While we're in the platform, are there any questions around any of the data, the dashboard, how to navigate? Happy to address those questions, or if there's other questions too, obviously we're happy to address those.
Could you just walk through the platform? I'm pretty new at
Yeah,
this, and I think that would be helpful.
yeah, of course, Amy. No problem at all. So this is a permittees view of the platform. So if you're a banker, you'll have a slightly different view. The major difference being instead of permits, you'll be viewing the credits that you hold and the banks that you hold as a banker. And excuse me, I'm just going to apologize in advance. I've had a cold the last few days, so if I sneeze or cough, I do apologize. But so here is the main dashboard. We can see that we can filter the views by what types of credits we'd like to see. In this case, for the permittee, this is the credits that they require as opposed to the credits that they hold. So we can see that Chesterfield County, for example, has 3,700 or so unfulfilled non-point source nitrogen credits that they need. We can see that they've got about 1,100 credits under contract. And this credit reservation section, this is something that we're introducing to the marketplace as part of the platform. You'll actually have the ability to reserve credits from bankers. So instead of a letter of credit availability that is not as representative as to what a bank might actually have available for sale, we're giving bankers and permittees the ability to set aside and reserve credits in this process, and I'll show you where that fits in. We can also filter down by the rivershed. You see here this little star. This indicates that this permittee actually has a permit in the James Rivershed. It looks like all of their permit unfulfilled requirements are in this rivershed, and even down to the HUC level. So we can see a few different HUCs where they've got permits requirements, either credits under contract or unfulfilled requirements entirely. Let's see there. So it looks like they're all in this one HUC, 0206. We also have some analytics here, credits per supplier. So just based on their transaction history, how many credits are they typically buying per supplier, and credits bought this past year for this permittee. A little lower, we have the overall.
Nate, for these municipalities and counties, does this include their requirements for like MS4 and their Chesapeake Bay quotas that they have to fulfill by 2028? Do you know?
Good question. This is all of the permit data that we're getting from DEQ. Fraser, are you aware? Are those permits held by DEQ, or are those more the municipalities?
MS4s are issued permits by DEQ. So any permit issued by DEQ is in the platform, covering off stormwater, general construction permits. That could be MS4. The terminology, Paul, you'll have to excuse me, I'm not totally au fait with, but they essentially covers nutrient permits, wetland and stream permits. So the Virginia Waterways Program permits and MS4's stormwater and others are already in here. To the extent that that cuts across Chesapeake Bay requirements, if it's a permit issued by DEQ, it's here. If it's a permit issued from a federal level, they're not in here at the moment, because obviously that is a different engagement with the US Army Corps of Engineers. And as you know, at the moment, that engagement has come to a halt for now. But the goal is to actually also include federal only permits where they actually are issued, but that will be a longer term goal to get that in from the ORMS data set that the US Army Corps holds. So in here, it's just any permit issued by DEQ that covers nutrient, wetland or stream credits. So any permit that requires the purchase of credits or could require the purchase of credits is in here. So at the moment, as of today, there are about 2,800 permits in the system.
Okay. and I forget what even MS4 stands for, but it's municipal stormwater and something or another. Just the terminology.
Yeah, I think that's why
Yeah.
some of the people call them stormwater general construction permits is another way to describe them, I think. But as I said, anything issued by DEQ that requires or could require the purchase of a credit is included in the platform.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks, Fraser. So here we have the overall market summary, and this is actually responding to the filters above as well. So this gives us a sense of how many credits, our credit supply as well as our credit demand, in this case for nitrogen credits. As we scroll down, we can also see the transaction volumes over the last 20 years for these nitrogen credits. This is, again, narrowed down by this HUC. I believe we're down to the HUC level, yep, 0206. And then this graph here is the pricing table. You'll notice that it's quite empty at this point because of the thousands of transactions that we've ingested, only several dozen have had any price data. So it's been fairly inconsistent as to what we've been able to put into the pricing analysis at this point. Let's see if we can get something that's a little more, maybe we'll just take it off. There we go. So here's what that pricing graph might look like. We can select the HUC as well. So currently we're just looking at the entire state of Virginia. We understand that this is not the most useful view, as the price of a credit is largely dependent on geography. But we can see general trends over the entire state, as well as where these prices are coming from. So this peak in May of 2022 is coming from HUC 0104, and that's a decently high price, $26,000, compared to this HUC in 0005 in January 2025, 18,000. So we can narrow this down though to a specific HUC, and now we have a couple of data points, and we can see the price trends in a specific HUC. Obviously, as Fraser said earlier, as we see adoption of the platform, we're very hopeful that these pricing metrics will become more useful. And another important note here is we're never going to disclose the specific price of a specific transaction. What we do, though, is we collect the pricing data and we display it as an aggregate of the market. So in a specific HUC, yes, but if Potomac Mitigation Bank were to transact a private transaction, we would not be publishing the price of that private transaction to the marketplace. We would just be aggregating the data and displaying it as such. Fraser.
Yeah, I just wanted to just comment on that one, is that if you are a party to an individual transaction, so if Chesterfield County had actually been the purchaser of credits, they would actually have plotted on this graph the prices that they paid, but nobody else would actually see that. So you will actually be able to see your personal pricing points relative to the overall market, as Nate is describing here. So, but you will be the only person who will see that actually specific pricing. So it gives you a sense of where your price points relate to the overall average, as to whether you're paying above or below market price, or whether you're receiving above or below market price.
And the other pricing data that we currently have is the advanced credits. I want to stress here that these advanced credit prices are based on transactions, not on the published prices. So, for example, we understand that the advanced credit price generally trends upward. This advanced credit price here is probably in a more expensive HUC, and so the credit prices for this year are skewed very, very high, although That's based on the geography in which the transaction took place rather than the actual progressively advancing advanced credit pricing that the Nature Conservancy releases. So this is the current limit of our pricing data. We're trying to display what we have available, but we will be making it more and more useful as we get more and more adoption. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, what does advanced mean?
Advanced credits. So these credits, and correct me here if I'm wrong, Fraser, or anybody else on the call that probably knows a lot more about mitigation banking than I do as a humble technologist, but advanced credits, my understanding is that they're somewhat of a fail-safe for the market. So after you've exhausted all of your options and you're unable to acquire a mitigation credit, in this case, non-tidal wetland credits in a specific HUC, you can buy an advanced credit. It's almost like a line of credit. Maybe the project hasn't been completed yet. It's the Nature Conservancy basically promises to complete a restoration project or an activity that will qualify for credits in the future, and you're buying those credits that are not currently in the marketplace, and the Nature Conservancy then in the future completes the project to fulfill those credits. Is my layman's understanding.
Just to add to that, Paul, I mean, the advanced credits are basically only available for sale from in-lieu fee programs, and they can only be purchased if you're a permittee, different order of priority. So if you would first look for credits from the mitigation bank and the same HUC as the permit, in the primary service area of a bank, then the secondary service area of a bank. If none of those are available, you would look for the primary service area of a in-lieu fee site, then the secondary service area. If there are no credits available in any of those places, you have the ability to purchase advanced credits from an in-lieu fee program. And as Nate says, they sell the advanced credits, and with the money they receive, they actually undertake actual restoration works within the sites that make up the program itself. So the biggest program is the Virginia Aquatic Resources Trust Fund, managed by the Nature Conservancy. I think they have 120 odd individual sites that they're restoring across the state. So it's if you like, as Nate said, it's the backstop of the marketplace. If there are no credits available anywhere else, you can purchase advanced credits. And a lot of people perceive that the market pricing that the TNC put into the public domain represents a floor or a kind of indication of what the market values of credits might be. But it's very specific to advanced credits, and as I said, that's why we don't mix them up with the rest of the pricing information. We present them separately.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, and it appears as well that they don't actually do the advanced credits for nutrient trading. So, which is probably why I imagine, Paul, you're a little less aware of those. They are available for non-tidal wetland credits, is what it appears, and that's about it.
Gotcha.
So this mapping supply and demand, this to me is actually one of the most powerful features that we have, because it really is where the matchmaking happens from the data that we're gathering from DEQ and the data that we're gathering from Ribbits. So here, for example, and these are going to be nutrients. So we're going to go to we're going to find a bank, a nutrient bank that can satisfy our permits for Chesterfield County here. So let's just enter click mode, and I'm going to say that we have permit requirements in here in Richmond. I can select this, and by selecting this geographical point, I can actually now find banks that have NPS credits, nitrogen, phosphorus, suspended sediment. So this is from an engineering perspective, a very difficult task from a software engineering perspective. a lot of hours went into this, but the simple ability to say, I have nutrient credit needs in this specific geography, help me find a bank that can satisfy this, and then being able to find that bank just right here. That's what this does. And if we had, I wish we had some permits that were non-tidal or other. But that's what this map does. So you can do the same thing for non-tidal wetlands. You can do the same thing for stream credits. This mapping supply and demand down here is really where you have the opportunity to find banks, if you're a permittee, that have the credits that you need, which again, I think hopefully is an incentive for bankers, especially, to have up-to-date data in this platform, because the more up-to-date this data is, the more easily permittees will be able to find your credits. Yeah, Fraser.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, as Nate has been describing, this is looking at it through the lens of a permittee. So the point they've selected is the permit location, and it finds banks that can supply it. If you're looking at this as a banker, you'll have the same map, but when you select one of your banks, it will automatically detect the permits that you can supply. So it just does the inverse. So depending on which view you're looking at, you'll either get a list of permits or you get a list of banks that can either each can service the other. In due course, one of the updates we're going to do is, as Nate's got that little pop-up open, we're actually going to add a click-through button, so you can actually go directly to the detail of that opportunity and make an offer directly from this page.
I'll pause there. Any thoughts, questions, concerns that we can address before we move on to the next piece of the platform? Okay. Here in my portfolio, this is where, oh, that page is not found. You can see why we're still in the beta test and haven't gone live quite yet. So thanks for your patience. Okay. Also, if you're logging in and you don't want to, and you just want to see the platform, you don't want to see all of the banks or permits that you need to confirm, you can just click cancel here. If you click go confirm, it'll take you to your wallet and you'll see all that, but you can just push cancel and it'll take you to the dashboard. My portfolio, though, I'll just give you a verbal description. Basically, it's just showing what is shown. It's showing you all of the permits or banks that you have in your wallet. So we think of these tools as wallets. They contain tokens. All of these digital assets are tokenized assets. We have a digital representation of your permits and a digital representation of your credits, and we use this way of thinking to ledger everything. So you might hear us say it's in your wallet. All we're saying is it's in your portfolio. It's your asset. So this portfolio here, all of the permits that are in Chesterfield County's wallet can be found here. This screen as well allows you to, whether it's permits or banks, you can add a bank or request to add a bank to your wallet. You can request to add a permit to your wallet from this portfolio screen as well. So aside from disputing your initial balances, as you create new banks, you get new permits, if they're not automatically entered in, or if they're taking longer to do so, you can just go in and enter it yourself, and that will automatically flag the EQ to verify the data that you've entered. Here's the market availability dashboard. Takes a little bit to load because there's quite a bit of data, but as an aggregate, this isn't super useful. So let's narrow this down to maybe wetland credits. So again, we have these filters at the top. We can filter down by credit class, credit product, the rivershed, and specific HUCs. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just save this HUC. Oh, no. We'll leave it to just the rivershed for right now, so I don't have to guess as to which HUC has these credits available for sale. But this basically gives just a market overview of what's going on. Here we can see as well pending trades and transactions that are happening. So here's some NPS credits that are pending approval. It looks like we can view this, and we can see, as Fraser indicated, we'll be able to see our own price points and our own pricing data. Because this was taking place off of the platform, that pricing data is not available. But this is where you'd be able to see some of those pricing data points. You can also see open trade opportunities. So this is a tabular version of the map that we were viewing on the previous page. So by selecting a specific permit, we can see that these wetland credits are needed. And this is automatically giving us a list of banks that can satisfy this permit. So again, the goal here is to facilitate transactions of credits in the marketplace based on the permittee's needs, based on the banker supply. And from here, we could view this bank. And this is where a permittee can actually go ahead and make an offer on these credits. I want to stress that there are no financial transactions happening on this platform. There's no payment rails. What an offer is doing is essentially sending an email to this person. It's not a legally binding contract. It's just an intent, a notification of interest. So with some pricing description. So if I were this permittee and I found this bank, there are a few different types of offers I could make. I could make a spot offer saying, hey, I'd love to, I need these credits. I know I need them. I'd like to purchase them as soon as possible. We can actually reserve credits. So this is where the credit reservation comes into play. A credit reservation would actually, if the offer is accepted by the banker, would take those credits and set them aside from the market's availability. So this is maybe, it's quite comparable to a letter of credit availability. It just takes it beyond saying we have the credits to actually setting the credits aside from the rest of the market. We also have the ability, if you wanted to enter a future or options contract or indicate your interest in doing so, we have those as options as well. So for the sake of this, we'll just do a spot trade. And let's see, the amount for sale is 1.08. So we'll just say one non-tidal wetland credit. And here we can put a price in that we are willing to pay for that non-tidal wetland credit. We add that to our cart. We indicate the deposit amount that we're willing to pay. And we also indicate a settlement date. So let's say for by the end of January 2026. And here we would make that offer. Before the offer is made, it's currently in a draft status. We can see the details of our offer. We're calling this a draft bill of sale. We understand that the nomenclature probably needs to be updated based on what a bill of sale actually is in the marketplace, but you could just think of this as the draft offer letter. Again, this is legally, it's not a binding contract. It's more of a notification of interest. But here we have the transaction amounts, the different parties, and the fees associated with using the platform to make this transaction. We do have a 1% transaction processing fee. We will be announcing an introductory offer here soon for those that are interested. But once we have all this information, we can actually ledger this offer, and that will be sent to, in this case, the bank. And they'll receive notification. So that's the offer process. I'll pause there. Is there any questions or comments on anything with regards to the offer or anything else we've shown? Yeah, Fraser.
Could
Just
you,
wanted to make.
oh,
sorry.
sorry.
I was just going to say, Tara, just before you jump into the question, while you've been looking at this as an offer being made from a permittee to a bank, it is also possible for a bank to make an offer to a permittee in exactly the same way. So it's not just that it's one-way traffic. You can actually initiate contact directly by making an offer to sell, as opposed to this case making an offer to buy. That's just a little clarification I just wanted to give.
Thanks.
That's very important too.
Yeah. So you can solicit potential business as a banker. Tara, you had a comment or a question though?
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the processing fee. So for any transactions that take place on the platform, is there a processing fee? Or what is the processing fee?
Yeah, so we'll just go back to this screen here. Fraser, I saw you come off mute. Would you like to take that?
No, I can take that. I mean, our standard processing fee is 1%. And that is the same for any time we've operated this in any platform anywhere in the world. So we have just a standard default 1%. However, we're well aware that this is perhaps a different situation in mitigation credit markets because it's all new. So as Nate just mentioned, we're in a fairly at the finalizing with DEQ at the moment an introductory offer, which will effectively give access to the platform without having to worry about transaction fees in the short term. So basically an introductory offer to incentivize adoption in the short term. But once the platform is up and running, there is a subscription fee for access, and there's a 1% transaction fee as well. And those are the two components that make up the cost of using the platform. I don't know if that answers the question, Tara.
It does. Thanks so much.
The subscription fee is paid by permittees and traders, or?
Subscription fees are paid by anyone who is logging into a wallet. So if you take, for example, I'm not quite sure who asked the question or which wallet it is, but if you were to take someone like Res, who obviously have got multiple different people who are interested in using it, they effectively have one wallet, and therefore there is one subscription that applies to Res, no matter how many users they have of that wallet. The same goes for a permittee. A permittee will have a wallet. There's a subscription for the wallet, irrespective of how many seats of people are actually using it. So it is anyone who, and there are different levels of subscription depending on what you want to do. The top level is what we call a trader wallet. It's basically somebody who actually wants to participate in trading. But there are other levels if people are just interested in looking around and gaining access to some market intelligence without trading. There is an option for a lower level of subscription just to facilitate that, because not everyone wants to trade immediately.
Yeah, and that subscription fee, Peter, is designed to be fairly nominal. As Fraser mentioned, we're not charging per seat. We're charging per wallet on that subscription fee. So $50 per month per wallet is what we're currently targeting. Again, we're looking at ways to incentivize folks during an introductory period so that all fees are waived. So it should not, but even into the future, our hope is that that subscription is a nominal fee. especially for the value add that we see in the platform. Great. So that's the offer process that we've been through based on, again, that's from the availability dashboard. After selecting a permit, I think it was rightfully mentioned by Fraser. This can be just as a permittee can look and find different banks that satisfy a specific permit. Bankers also have open trade opportunities listed for different permits that would be satisfied by their credits that they currently hold. So it's a two-way communication. We also have analytics. The analytics is very similar to the initial dashboard. As far as design and use, you'll see that we use a lot of the same components, these drop-down menus to filter by credit class, product, rivershed. And we can see here, for example, I think one of the more interesting metrics to me is the current market balance. So credits available versus credits required, we can see that there's actually an almost 10-to-1 ratio. We'd consider a balanced market to be closer to a 1-to-1 ratio. So according to the data, again, big asterisk, big caveat, according to the data that we currently have, there's an almost 10-to-1 availability to demand ratio in the Potomac Rivershed for non-tidal wetland credits. But the analytics dashboard is designed to give a little bit more in-depth analytics of the marketplace. So we can see things such as the number of trades this year, the average price of those trades. Again, we're not going to be disclosing the price of any specific transaction. That's a private party transaction. But this is more of an aggregate. The average volume this year, so how many credits are being transacted. We can see also the market players, so by total volume and price. Again, price is only disclosed if it's publicly available information. So, City of Virginia Beach, Virginia Department of Transportation. In this case, this Dominion Energy transaction, I would imagine it was coming from a public source, or there was some process that put this data in the public domain. So we can see top sellers and top buyers here. We also have the market outlook. So our goal here is, as we aggregate more and more data, we'll be able to see what supply and demand look like and forecast what supply and demand look like into the coming years, specifically using credit release schedules, as well as some things such as potential permitting demand schedules that we're still looking at how to get that. But the credit release schedules especially will help us have a better sense as to what our potential supplies could look like years in advance. Here we have just looking back a few years as well as looking forward a few years. Again, this is more dependent on the credit release schedules, but we can look back the last few years and we can see the credit balance dynamics, how many were available in 2022 versus 23, 24, and now 25. Again, we're hoping to give trends as to what's happening in the marketplace in specific HUCs. For example, we see a decreasing supply in this specific HUC. We can compare it to other HUCs. So we can actually see in this dark green is one HUC, and in the light green is another. Let's add just one more HUC. We can see the three of those compared to each other. what's actually happening as far as credit balance dynamics are concerned, the increase or decrease of supply of credits in specific HUCs. Excuse me. So those are some of the analytics that we have. As mentioned earlier too, we have messaging capability. So this is where you'll be able to see the different offers. If you're submitting offers to a permittee or to a banker, you'll be able to see the communications here and track all of that. You also have contacts. This is still basically everybody that is in the platform, really. Anybody that's on Ribbits, their contact information is here, so you can add them to your contacts and communicate with them in the platform. You can also search for a specific contact or permittee. We're really trying to make it a one-stop shop for the transacting of credits. We can also see the users for a specific wallet. So in this case, Jake Elder and Elmer Ebert are the official points of contact for this wallet. So these are the two current users that can access this wallet. We know, for example, with Potomac, you all are very interested in having multiple people access and adding people. Currently, it's a manual process for us to add additional folks to your wallets. But in the future, we'll have the ability where you can actually administer this yourself. You can add a new person from your organization to the wallet directly. That's something that we're prioritizing for after the beta testing. But and then the ledger, you see there's no data, there's no transactions that have happened, but this is where you can see every step in the process of actually acquiring a credit. So from the moment that you send an offer to that person either rejecting or accepting the offer, maybe they change some of the offer terms to the point where the transaction is actually ledgered into the system, all of that detail will live here, as well as all the associated documents that you might exchange. So this is hopefully a repository for you all to use to track the transaction of these credits. So I'll stop it there. Are there any screens or areas of discussion that you want to bring up? Any place on the platform that I can revisit, or any questions that arise from what we've discussed so far? Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, I just want to say it really looks like an amazing product, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to have to get in and learn our way around, but looks really exciting, Nate and Fraser.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we hope so. We hope so. There's definitely been a lot of work that's gone into it, and appreciate a lot of the feedback we've had along the way from some of you all too. But Peter, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, on the just one question on the analytics side. For the permit requirements, is there a way for us to get the source data?
There's no current way to export that. That's not the first time the request has come up. It's something that we need to discuss internally. But I can understand why you'd want to have that source data and be able to analyze it yourself and put it through your own systems. Is there any specific data point that you're interested in, or just in having access to the same data points that we're using?
Yeah, I think just understanding where those requirements are coming from and being able to confirm the data.
Okay, so it's more about confirming data integrity than anything for you. Is that a fair summary, Peter?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, I can speak to that a little bit. So currently we have this relationship with the EQ where we've been able to upload the permit data, and we have processes in place to make sure that the permit data is relevant, is current. Those processes are very quickly turning into more programmatic processes, but all the data that you see here is basically provided to us by DEQ as far as permitting demand goes.
Can I maybe just add to, can I just maybe add to that, Nate? So, Peter, obviously, when it comes to a wetland permit, or if there is a permit that requires the purchase of wetland or stream credits, the actual credit requirements are actually formally defined by DEQ, and any of those requirements, when they come onto our platform, it has already been pre-verified and vetted by DEQ, so there's no changes. Nutrient permits, by comparison, it is voluntary in terms of the purchase of credits. So in terms of if a nutrient permittee makes a decision to purchase credits, they are effectively determining how many they wish to purchase. And it is only after the event that DEQ will verify that the purchase actually satisfies the permit requirements. So in that kind of context, from a verification point of view, the data that you're seeing is exactly the data that is in the DEQ systems. It's the same data you should be able to find in PEEP or all of the public-facing databases to the extent that that is currently available. So that's just to add a bit of clarification onto that. The other thing I just wanted to mention, just following up from Paul's comment, is obviously any feedback that we get through this beta testing process, and we've certainly had some very valuable feedback, will be going into a revised version, so that what you see today will probably be upgraded and a bit different by the time we launch on the 15th of December, as we actually make changes in response to the feedback that we've been given. So it's, as I said, at any point in time, any feedback is good feedback, no matter how small or how large it is. So any further feedback, you can rest assured we will actually be looking to integrate into the platform to make sure that this is as responsive to your needs as it possibly can be.
Happy we've got some time left. I'm happy to pull up a bank wallet if that would be useful to anybody here. But again, the wallets are fairly similar for bankers and permittees. But if you'd like to see maybe some of the differences, I'd be happy to pull up a banker's wallet. But let me know if that's useful or not.
I would like to see that.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. Again, we're going to use a public entity here. So just logging into the VDOT wallet. And the caveat here too is, VDOT banks can only sell within VDOT for VDOT projects. So we're trying to make sure that we're not showing any data that isn't in the public domain. Okay, share my screen again. So this is VDOT's wallet. Yes, and we're logged in as a bank owner. So here, very similar dashboard. Now it's a credit summary as opposed to a well, I guess actually it's a credit summary for both. But we have the overall market summary. We have the same transaction volumes. In this case, we're looking at stream credits. Let's look in the James. And we can see the transaction volumes in this Rivershed. We can see the advanced stream credits pricing, and we can also see the rolling 3-month average for stream credits. Again, this is across the state of Virginia. We can select a HUC and hope that we have some some data, a nice flat line. That's always useful. Oh, even better, a dot. Yeah, the pricing data is sparse at this point, but this at least looks a little bit better, even if it's not extremely useful, to paint the vision of what we hope to achieve as we aggregate more price data. Down here is that same mapping supply and demand. So we can see here the VDOT Eagle Rock Bank. We'll just go to this one. And as we select this bank, we can see, as a banker, we can see permittees that have permit requirements that our bank could actually settle. So we can see here GT Big Island LLC, they've got about 1,300 stream credit that they need satisfied. And again, VDOT cannot satisfy these due to their regulations, but let's say that this was Potomac. You know, you could come in and you could actually view this permit, and you could either contact this individual directly, or you could go ahead and make an offer. All right. This is going to be that same process. So you saw that they need 1,200 stream credits, and let's say that you can offer them 1,000, and we'll say that, just to make the math nice and easy, at a price of $1,000 a credit, and you're willing to accept a 25% deposit, and those credits could be available to them as soon as, well, before the end of the year. So now we'd click on that make offer button, and we can see again, we'll be changing this so it says draft offer letter, but you can see the details of your offer as a banker to the permittee. That same 1% transaction processing fee for the platform, and from there you would click ledger, and this would send a message with your offer to the permittee. So that's the main difference here, is we're just looking at, based on the banks that we hold as a banker, we're able to see the permits that our banks satisfy.
Nate, I have a question. So say they accept the offer, does it come back through the system and reserve those credits or take them out of inventory?
Yes, it depends on the type of trade, but if they accept the offer, then the credits would be moved into a stage of, I believe, pending if they accept the offer, unless you're making an offer to reserve the credits, in which case they'd be moved to a reservation status. Is that correct, Fraser?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically, I mean, when an offer is accepted, your available for sale total is automatically reduced, and the volume under contract will either be increased if it's an actual contracted, or it will be, the volume reserved will be increased if it's a reservation. So that automatically happens as soon as an offer is accepted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Paul. Oh.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify on this 1% transaction fee that is going to be waived in the short term. When that does kick in and is actually effective, that's paid by the permittee rather than by the bank.
Really, the choice is yours. As far as who pays we kind of see it as a real estate transaction. Who pays the commission is dependent on the contract that you all negotiate.
Okay.
So it really just depends on what the two parties come to agree on.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Peter.
So someone reserves a credit or accepts an offer or whatever. There's a down payment associated with that.
Yes. You can choose to make the down payment 0, I believe. We come back in here, we add this to the cart, deposit of 0%. That is possible. But this is just, in this specific case, the banker is offering to the permittee whatever terms they would like. So if you, as a banker, say, I don't need a down payment, I just want to let you know that you can buy my credits for this price, and I'd like to settle it before the end of the year. You know, it can serve that purpose. It really, the control is yours. Great questions, though. Thank you. Are there any other questions before we move on from this? Okay. Let's see if the bank's view. Okay, this one is working. So this was the screen for a permittee. This is where the permits would be displayed. In this case, we've got our banks and we've got the different credit balances, again, filterable by these different classes, products, riversheds, hucks. The process that I'd like to show is just requesting bank access. So very similar if you were, let's say that you accidentally confirmed your portfolio and then you remembered, oh, we actually have this bank or this permit. You can request either to add an existing bank, something that shows up in Ribbits, or you can request to create a new bank. Either way, it's very similar to confirming your portfolio in the sense that this is going to send this message to DEQ, who's going to review the information and work with you to approve this new bank. Fraser.
Thanks, Nate. I was actually just going to comment. I mean, what you've just described is correct. I mean, this will be a process that DEQ will handle in terms of the approvals. But we can just jump out of that page. One of the comments that Helen was talking about earlier was the issue of disputing and confirming your portfolio. So one of the important things to note that down here on the individual banks, you will see that the VDOT Woodford bulk purchase has been confirmed, as has the VDOT Holston Bristol been confirmed, but Eagle Rock remains pending. So in effect, you're in a situation where you can see which banks have been confirmed and which ones have not. And at the top of the page, you can then actually see, so if you look at available for sale, currently they only have 115.6 credits available for sale because that represents the credits in the confirmed banks. And they have another 146,762. So they've got a lot more credits to confirm in various other banks. So the way in which the information, the only credits that are identified as available for sale represents credits that have been confirmed in the portfolio. So in effect, that everyone is agreeing that yes, that is the amount of credits that we currently have available. When you confirm that, they're then available for sale and you can begin transacting. So I just wanted to give that clarification. It kind of adds to the comments that Helen was making earlier about how the dispute process is handled. So once the dispute is resolved, your credit balances will be automatically adjusted because the bank will have been confirmed. Or if there's a new bank added, it'll then be added into your portfolio. And anywhere on the platform where you see a little circle with an eye in the middle of it, of which there are some up at the top, if you click on that, hover over that or click on that, it'll give you some more information. So the information panel on the right-hand side is kind of like context-sensitive help, but you can get rid of it out of the way. But you can also just click on one of those and there is some information to explain what is going on. So just to say that there's some little bits of help throughout the system to try and explain things if they're not very obvious.
There's also the ability to view the banks on a map. So you can see where your banks are. Another piece of feedback that we've received during this beta test was, well, I'd like to be able to see all of the banks like I can on rivets. So that's something that's in the public domain. We're going to be adding that in short order. The ability to see all banks, and all permits that are throughout the state. So currently, you can see your banks. This is geared more towards being able to match your banks to potential trading opportunities is where our focus has been. But for broader market analysis, we'll also be adding being able to see all banks and their inventory levels. You can also see and manage your customers as a banker. The only customer that VDOT has and will have is VDOT itself. But here's where you'd be able to see the contact information of different permittees that you've serviced. You might be able to view past transactions, that type of thing. The availability dashboard is really just the same. You're going to see your active trades here. The only difference is that your open trade opportunities, again, it's just inverting who you can see. So instead of for the permittees, they can see the banks that could supply them with credits. For bankers, they can see the permittees that have permits that require their credits. So stream and non-title here. Okay, it looks like these two permits actually could be satisfied by our stream credits in this Eagle Rock Bank. So same thing, we could come in here and we could actually review this permit and make an offer to the permittee to sell them our credits. We can choose which type. In this case, they only have a need for stream credits. So we could offer them stream credits at a specific price and fill out the remaining information as we've shown before. Along with that, the analytics dashboard is basically unchanged from what we were seeing before as a permittee, I should say. And we'll just make a few selections here. We can see top sellers and top buyers. Again, we can see credit outlook dynamics. This here has it's going back to the top, the current market balance. Looks like in the Potomac River shed, it's near equilibrium. A few more credits than there are permits, it would appear. Scrolling down, we have the same credit outlook. Again, this will gain utility as we increase the data and quality of the data on the platform. And here we have the credit outlook, the credit balance dynamics. We can see an increase in the availability for sale of stream credits over the last 4 years. And as we select specific HUCs, we can see how they compare to one another. So, yeah, interesting trends we're hoping to be able to show. And everything else is about the same. So, are there any additional questions that arise from seeing the banker's wallet and what that looks like? Yeah, Holly.
I just have a question about when it goes live. Should we be making our changes and confirming our banks prior to that, or wait till it goes live?
Yeah, great question. As part of the beta test, you have the opportunity to confirm all of your balances now. That's I'd say one of the advantages of doing so. So the sooner the better, I guess the short answer from me. But Fraser, do you have a different opinion?
No, the choice is yours, Holly, as to when you want to do it. I mean, any confirmations that or disputes that you initiate now will be treated and will automatically be embedded into the go live version. So anything you do today will not be lost. And essentially, if you do it today, that means on day one you're ready to go.
Okay.
But it's really up to yourself. I mean, in terms of how much workload you may have between now and then, you don't necessarily have to do it all at once, as we've shown. You can actually just do, you can spread it out over a period of time and focus on some of the banks today, some of them next week, some of them after launch. It is purely your choice at the end of the day. One of the benefits is that if people do it progressively, then it will help manage the workload on DEQ staff to respond to all of the queries that are coming in. So if everybody just confirms or disputes everything on the same day, you can imagine there's going to be a quite significant workload involved in sorting all of those out. So we would encourage progressive confirmation, but it very much is your choice. Again, the platform is designed for you. It's not, we're not forcing anyone to a particular timeline. At the end of the day, go live is the 15th of December. Realistically, we would expect thereafter people would take a little bit of time getting accustomed to the platform, understanding how it works, becoming familiar with it. So I think that it'll be, I don't think we're likely to see anyone initiating trades on the 15th of December, but you never know.
Okay, well, thank you.
Excellent. Well, we're coming up to the end of our scheduled time. If there are any additional questions, I have a few minutes. I don't know if Fraser does, but I'm happy to stay on. But if not, also happy to give you all a couple of minutes back and just thank you all for your time. So I really appreciate you joining the office hours and contributing to the beta test. It means a lot to us.